Coming up on Twig This Week in Google, I'm Jason Howell. Joining me, Jeff Jarvis and Aunt Pruitt. We talk about all the antitrust stories that are bubbling up right now. Google, Facebook, Amazon, they've all got stories of antitrust allegations going on. Pixel 4 leaks in abundance, and we take a look at some new videos that hit there. Hong Kong protesters creating their own national anthem, as well as using technology that gets them off the internet in order to keep communicating with each other. And dogs with sticks. We're covering a lot of ground today on Twig. That is up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 525, recorded Wednesday, September 11th, 2019. Looking for Mr. Goodswipe. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by Worldwide Technology. Worldwide Technology's Advanced Technology Center is like no other testing and research lab, with more than $500 million of equipment, including OEMs like NetApp, and it's virtual, so you can access it 24/7. To learn more and get insights into all that it offers, go to wwt.com/twit. And by Capterra. Find the right tools to make an informed software decision for your business. Visit Capterra's free website at capterra.com/twig. And by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy with one click. Yes, it's that easy. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. I'm Jason Howell, filling in for Leo Laporte, who I believe is at the last pass.
No, he's at the Podfronts.
Podfronts. My apologies. He's at Podfronts.
He's talking podcasts with
He's
the
talking
Podfronters.
this thing that we do here, it's called podcast. Another week we'll be doing the last pass thing. Joining me as always, almost always, Jeff Jarvis, buzzmachine.com.
Pretty much always. I go out of my way. I try my best. I get here every time I can. I torture you from hotel rooms with bad Wi-Fi to be here.
Do.
I stay up till all hours to be here. I'm pretty much always here, whether you like it or not.
You are like 99.99% reliable. But there's that 0.01%, Jeff. That 0.01%. It hurts.
Got to work. It's my annual review. It's telling me
We call that 0.01% Davos.
Right.
Not anymore, man. I'm not invited anymore.
Oh, well, congratulations
I'm on
and
the
welcome
not
to
to
the
go list.
Welcome back to the hoi polloi.
That's right. Good to see you, Jeff. Also joining me here on the set, and Pruitt, fellow Twit.
Yes, fellow Twit.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
It just, one day you wake up and you realize you just flew, you drove your family across the country.
2,917 miles.
That's amazing, man.
2,917 miles.
Oh, and that took.
Did you do any spectacular tacky tourist things on the way?
None. The only thing I really did was the Grand Canyon. That was the only thing.
Okay, that's a big one.
But the other stuff.
You mentioned it, my palms sweat because I fear that you're looking over the edge.
It was great. It was just beautiful. My first time seeing that.
When you were at the Grand Canyon, do they have rules against drones? Sending drones out and getting footage?
Allegedly, they have rules.
Okay.
But. No, I didn't. Okay. I didn't fly the drone this time.
Okay.
I did take the dogs and let the dogs run around, and they enjoyed. The
so you
Canyon
let the dogs out?
I did.
Okay. I've been wondering who let the dogs out, and now I know.
I did.
And it's great to have you here, both sitting on set and working at Twit, and sitting behind me. Right over my shoulder.
That's right.
So everything that I enter on my computer in our office,
I am snooping.
You have the ability to see it all.
I didn't say that out loud, did I?
Well, now I know. It's great to have you on today.
Thank you.
And so, I'm just going to say right up front, yesterday was this thing, you may have heard of it. It was an Apple announcement. And I feel like as every year it happens, Apple sucked like a vacuum the news out of the world.
Man, they tend to have that power for some reason. How does a company have that much power? I
don't know, but they did it. But we do have some news that we can talk about. We'll probably get a little bit later, get into things that might touch a little bit on what Apple talked about. But we should probably start with this whole antitrust thing, because there's a bunch of threads happening right now. As I was looking at the rundown, there's all these different pieces moving. The Justice Department, of course, is already probing Google. And you can add to that an antitrust investigation that was just announced. 50 states and territories announced this investigation on Monday. They say Google dominates all aspects of advertising on the internet and searching on the internet. That's according to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. They're focusing on the online advertising aspects to start. They also have complaints on search result rankings, protecting personal information, a whole smorgasbord of everything that we read about in the news lately as far as what Google's doing badly. They say Google poses an existential... Allegedly. Very, very good. That's important. Google poses a, quote, existential threat to our virtual marketplace. Now, what's interesting here, is that every state is included, except Alabama and California. But
it said 50 states. Yeah. Well, 50 states and territories. They had to throw in 2 territories to make up for the states.
Right. Yes. So yes, exactly. Which, I mean, in and of itself, though, that's a whole lot of involvement from all directions. But obviously, Alabama and California out on that.
They all want a piece of the flesh they get.
Piece of the pie, piece of the Android pie. What do you think, Jeff? I mean, this is just yet another pile on happening right now.
Well, I'm of two minds. So Facebook is also under this kind of alleged scrutiny. Yes. There's another story there about Amazon. We have the far right going after the tech platforms because they think they're being not nice to them. We have the left going after them because they're big capitalistic companies. We have a generalized media techlash going on with newspaper and magazine publishers suddenly becoming lobbyists, which makes me very uncomfortable as a journalist, trying to get protectionist legislation and regulation going on. So that's the atmosphere in which this happens. Mm-hmm. I'll come back to that in a second. But having said all that, and I always get worried about regulators going after the internet and our freedoms there. I have long said on this show that the one area where Google is vulnerable is in advertising. They do control a tremendous a part of the advertising market. They have a kingmaker's role there. They bought DoubleClick years ago and were perfectly allowed to do so, though some said at the time it shouldn't have happened. And so, yeah, there is some weakness when it comes to advertising. And the question is, what evidence is there of Google using its power? In Europe, they went after Google, and they're still going after Google for its placement of shopping ads. That's ridiculous because shopping means hardly nothing in this. They're way off the mark as far as I'm concerned. But an investigation of advertising, we'll see what it yields. So that's part one. Part two is another piece in here that says from Yahoo Finance, we need more monopolies like Google.
Right.
And I really like this piece by Rick Newman, a senior columnist at Yahoo Finance, who just talked about how, yes, they're going after him. Yes, Elizabeth Warren wants to break up all the big tech companies. Yes, Trump has attacked them. But he says, if Google is an abusive monopoly, then we need more abusive monopolies. Consumers clearly love being ripped off by Google, ranking it consistently near the top among consumer brands. Consumers don't seem to have a problem with Google's business model, but regulators sure do. And goes on then a little later after the story continues button and says that, if you're going to go after companies, maybe you should go after Equifax, which just today told everybody who thought they were going to get $125 from them for their illegal, horrible acts. No. We're going to make you walk through glass and steaming lava to get that money.
I walked through that glass.
Did you?
I clicked through there many things that they made you click through to get the money. I don't expect that I will get any of the money.
No, you just wasted $125 worth of your labor.
Exactly.
Yes, your time. Man. What is it worth?
Well,
to you?
The way you're paid there, no, probably you have to do a little more. Right. So why are evil companies like that and Wells Fargo and companies that really do abuse their employees, like in this column, Dollar Tree and Dollar General and Flower Foods and Extended Say and so on and so forth, and they're almost treating the companies as if they're tobacco companies. But show me the harm. And that's my final point here, is that among consumers, I see no harm. I see nothing but benefit from these companies, and especially Google. We can argue about Facebook. We can argue about what you think about Facebook. But Google, straight out, is a service company that provides tremendous services for free without harm to consumers, benefiting consumers. What's really going on is all the old institutions of society, economic and government, are threatened by the internet, and now they're fighting back against them. And now I fear what's going to happen to our freedoms. End of spiel.
Do you think it's more of an ignorance about the internet or a threat? Because every time we saw something in the court system, what have you, those leaders act like they knew nothing about the internet at all.
It's an important point, and I think you're right. That's kind of the beginning point, but I think basically that ignorance leads them to get used as tools of those who want to fight down the net and its freedoms. That includes, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, my colleagues in the newspaper business and magazine business. It includes politicians who fear that movements can now rise up against them, and they can and campaigns can rise up against them. It includes, but here's one thing: I don't hear the advertisers complaining. I could be wrong, or maybe I'm listening to the right places, but I don't hear them screaming bloody murder about being abused by Google. And that's really, if they're going after an antitrust in advertising, that should be the victim. Consumers are not the victim. Advertisers, all in all, aren't the victim. They're in open marketplaces with open bidding, and they're getting a hell of a lot better deal than they ever did in media. Who's complaining are media, because media were too damn stupid. So in the one sense, you're right, Ant. It's the politicians who are stupid, but then that stupidity gets exploited by my stupid colleagues in media who didn't know how to create a new business and a new reality, and now are resorting to this. Arr!
Yeah, I think reading through that Yahoo, the finance.yahoo piece, I realized that is the conundrum that I have found myself in when I kind of go back and forth as far as how I feel about all this stuff. And I feel very hypocritical at times, because on one hand, like, of course I don't want a company to abuse its power. Anti-competitive behavior is, I would not say, well, that's a very good thing to be anti-competitive. Like, I want things to be fair. And so I would push for that. At the same time, and so when I look at Google, it's very easy for me to see why someone might get that feeling, lacking any solid evidence. Like, there's a lot of feeling going on right now when it comes to technology, and I just feel like they're bad. I just feel like they're doing bad things. And so therefore we need to crack down on it. On the other side of it, I am a very loyal Google user, and I enjoy all of these services. And obviously, I enjoy it enough to stick with Google. Otherwise, I would have left Google for something else. And so it hasn't hit that tipping point to where I'm like, well, it's serious enough, or I've seen the evidence that I need in order to pull that trigger.
Believe it or not, some people are happy with Facebook. They're happy with the results that they get for
a lot of
advertising on Facebook with their business and things like that. Or there are some people that are happy with it, regardless of some of the interesting practices that they may have in place.
I think all these big companies, all of them have interesting practices. Facebook. And that's where I begin to also feel more hypocritical, right? Like, I did step away from Facebook. I don't have a Facebook account anymore for whatever reason. In the field of Facebook, that was motivating enough for me to step away and close my account. But if I really compare what these services are doing, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of similarity. Why would I, as a user, give Google a pass and not Facebook? It's kind of hard to put my finger on it.
Why would you condemn? Yeah. Why? Yeah. I was going to try to do the logic. I lost my logic there. But yeah, what's so awful? Facebook's rep got awful in media, and they screwed some things up royally. But I've also saw a piece recently that said that the whole Cambridge Analytica affair was way overblown. There was no real harm there. Cambridge Analytica was a bunch of flim-flam men who weren't really doing anything. And there was an abuse of Facebook's rules, and that's gotten blown out to the point that Facebook is now considered evil. Moment of full disclosure, I raised money for my school from Facebook. I'm independent of Facebook, received no money personally from any of the platforms. End of disclosure.
Yeah.
Anytime algorithms are involved, it's you might as well just assume that you're a number and don't really count, and there's going to be some shady stuff here and there. Amazon is just as bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and in fact,
and people
Amazon,
don't talk about that.
Amazon is in the news for this very thing. They're being investigated by the FTC for anti-competitive behavior as well. Apparently merchants are being interviewed about, the percentage of business revenue from Amazon versus other marketplaces, the extent of Amazon's power over suppliers, which is all early stages. But and I feel like in all of these cases, the feeling that I get is the overarching feeling is I'm afraid of what this may lead to. I'm not quite sure what it may lead to, but I'm afraid of how big these companies are. Therefore, we have to do something.
Yeah. But at the same time, aren't you afraid of what regulation would mean?
No. And I'm not saying like that. That I buy into that.
Okay.
I'm entirely because I think a part of me might, just out of straight fear. I think it's just driven by fear. It's like we haven't seen companies of this side and this magnitude with so much direct influence and kind of control over how people connect with each other and live their lives in an integrated way. So that uncertainty just can be scary in and of itself. Not knowing is scary.
Let me calm you down, Jason. Let me calm you down.
All right.
Take a little Jarvis Xanax.
Please.
Right?
Hit me with a tranquilizer.
I don't think they're that much in control of our lives. That presumes you don't have agency. You're not making decisions on your own. I think
Absolutely.
you are. Right?
Agreed. Yeah.
Two, do you think maybe the Facebook investigation could be politically motivated by a certain person who hates Jeff Bezos of the Washington Post? Maybe, who also likes to get Air Force jets to land near his resort so they can make money? I'm not proposing, but maybe.
Yeah. I think you're onto something there.
Maybe.
Your point about being a number, I'm actually going to push back a little bit on that one because, as you said that, it was an interesting point. But Google, big, giant Google, knows me as an individual, serves me as an individual, knows my preferences, serves those preferences, throwing my own field under the bus again. Big old mass media still treats me as a mass, still treats me as in fact a number, only one of millions, giving me no sense of individuality and personhood. And instead, so in a sense, it's the algorithm is the tool that enables
I buy that.
The personalization, individualization, let's call it, of these services to give me greater value and relevance, as opposed to big old mass media where you're just the same as everybody else.
I buy that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know where this leads to. Other than many months of discussing the progress of these cases. We're going to get so sick of them. We probably are going to get very sick of them. The EU, and everything that happened in the EU as far as antitrust, do you think that's a template here? Do you think we're going to see similar outcomes?
The law is different. What you have to prove, the EU could just go after you because you're just too darn big.
Too big, yeah.
And the U.S., you can't do that. You've got to show that there was an improper use of a market monopoly. A, there was a monopoly. B, there was an improper use of it. And C, that there was harm to consumers in that. Europeans don't require that harm test.
Mm-hmm. Europeans, you can just harm competitors. And U.S., you have to actually harm consumers.
Oh, okay. All right. So then maybe not as much of a template.
But Carson, in this case, in the Google case, the consumer could be the advertiser rather than the shopper. Yes?
Correct.
Yeah.
Gonna have to wait and see.
Gonna have to wait and see. Yep. And in the meantime, we need more monopolies like Google.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I the more I thought about that, I was really, as far as I go, trying to defend the internet from these scourges, I thought that was a really gutsy way to put it.
Yeah, totally.
It was to buy into it and say, okay, fine, monopoly, good. Look what comes of it. Let's have more. I kind of like that. I think it was gutsy.
Lean into the monopoly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just lean in to monopoly.
Well, you look at China. How can Weibo and WeChat do all the miraculous things they do? It's because they're government-enabled monopolies, and they get enough consistency across the marketplace. They offer phenomenal services. Phenomenal.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy what they can do. Absolutely. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, and I think probably all of us. We can talk a little bit about some of the Pixel leaks that are happening. Things feel very similar now as they did a year ago, when suddenly we knew literally everything there was to know, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So there's a lot of fun to be had talking about that.
I'm very upset there's no Chromebook Pixel leaks. I'm very upset.
Yeah,
hasn't been a one. I haven't seen one.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on a Pixelbook, not lately, and I don't know. I kind of assumed there was going to be something.
I haven't seen anything.
We will talk about that and a whole lot more. But first, let's take a break. Thank the sponsor of this episode of This Week in Google, and that is Worldwide Technology. WWT began building their Advanced Technology Center 10 years ago. It has grown exponentially ever since. It's like no other testing and research lab. The lab contains more than $500 million in equipment from hundreds of OEMs and key partners, ranging from heavyweights like NetApp, Cisco, and VMware to emerging disruptors like Tanium, Equinix, and Expanse. WWT is a trusted partner who stays with you over the years. Many of their customers have been with them for over a decade because they know WWT is where they can go to get the answers they need to make their business run right. Their ATC is an incubator for IT innovation, offers a number of things: on-demand and schedulable labs like NetApp Cloud Volumes, ONTAP on Flash, NetApp Disaster Recovery as a Service, along with hundreds of other labs representing newest advances in flash storage, multi-cloud, hyperconverged infrastructure, cloud data management, and a whole lot more. You can learn about products before you launch. WWT's engineers use these environments to quickly spin up proofs of concept and pilots using the sandbox so customers can confidently select the best solutions. In many cases, this will reduce concept time from months to weeks, which increases speed to market in the end. They offer Lab as a Service, which is a dedicated lab space within the ATC, and this is where customers can perform programmatic testing using the vast technology ecosystem that WWT has already built. And it's virtual, so you can take full advantage of ATC's unique benefits anywhere in the world, 24/7. WWT engineers work in these labs every day. They're beta testing new equipment. They're building reference architectures and custom integrations to help their customers make decisions and see results faster and with much less investment. And the time is now. WWT has finally launched their new digital platform encompassing the ATC ecosystem. This ecosystem creates a multiplier effect of knowledge, speed, and agility anytime, anywhere around the world for their customers. So you can get access to articles, case studies, hands-on labs, and other tools that make the difference in today's fast-paced world. You can learn more about WWT, the ATC, and sign up for access to their new on-demand lab platform by going to wwt.com/twit. WWT simplifies the complex. That's wwt.com/twit. WWT is delivering business and technology outcomes around the world, and we thank them for their support of This Week in Google. All right, so we got the big antitrust scary topic out of the way. Let's get to a little bit of fun stuff here.
Let's get to all the rumors and leaks.
Yes, rumors, leaks, and my goodness, there are many rumors and leaks. Actually, last night and then this morning, I've seen two full, 4K videos. Do you remember a year ago, before the Pixel 3, we started a month in advance ahead of the announcement. I don't even know if the announcement was announced yet, that there would be an announcement. And suddenly we started seeing these highly produced reviews of the Pixel 3 that had not even been announced yet.
Right.
And I think they were Ukrainian based in many cases.
For some reason I was thinking European, but you may be right.
Yeah, somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. I was thinking the Ukraine, but I could be wrong.
The Russians stole it, I know
it was
it.
Ukrainian. Estonian, something like that.
Estonian, yes, that's right.
Estonian. A slight difference, but yeah.
There we go. Thank you. And it was just kind of crazy. It was like everybody was like, well, this can't possibly be real. Like they must be just working off a prototype or they've created a fabrication based on rumors, blah, blah, blah.
No, they were on Google's mailing list.
Yeah, something happened there, and a number of them got it because they all had content to share on YouTube.
Right.
Well, now we're there again, and it's happening with the Pixel 4. This time, it seems to be happening with Vietnamese YouTubers. At least the two videos that have appeared in the last 24 hours or so. You can find one of them by the channel anthem. It's a 6-minute video, full 4K resolution. I mean, it pretty much just gives you everything you need to know.
Everything you want.
Everything you need to know about the new Pixel 4 XL, and kind of goes into some of the features, like the full body design, the software features, the redesigned camera app. It shows the smooth display, which is a toggle, so you can turn on 90 hertz refresh instead of 60 hertz. Screen attention, which knows when you're looking at the display to keep it on versus when you look away, then it will actually allow it to time out. That sort of stuff.
I wonder about that ambient control and how much juice is going to be used with that, as well as with the refresh rate.
Yeah, kind of the battery aspects of something like that.
Because I know with this last, I can't speak. I know with this last update to my old Pixel, battery life has just gone up exponentially.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have all of these extra sensors and features like this that the Pixel 4 allegedly will have.
Right. The Soli radar.
Right.
How much juice is that going to require?
Are we going to go back to bad battery life now?
I hope not. I don't think you can go back to bad battery life. Like nowadays, people are very used to a certain level of battery performance, and if you don't get it, that's going to
you're right,
handicap you. What's that?
I just saw. So I normally drive my horribly long commute, so I have the phone plugged in, so I don't really sense the battery. So I updated the other day. So today I've been home working at home. Right. I call this work, by the way. Man, they barely took a molecule off the battery chart. It's amazing.
It's amazing. I've forgotten to charge my battery at night a few times.
And you wake up and you're like, whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. And then I get to noon the next day. I'm like, I didn't charge last night.
Yeah.
It's really a big difference.
My 3A has gotten through 2 days.
Nice. That's fantastic.
It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. And you like you said, you've noticed a difference based on what it was on Pi versus where it is on Android 10.
Totally
like
different.
Noticeable difference.
Totally different.
That is awesome. I feel like battery is so important. Mm-hmm. Like we've all gotten somewhat more accustomed to good battery, or battery that lasts long enough for that fast charge or whatever, that it's really hard to go backwards on that. It's just one of the most important key features.
Do we know what caused the most of the improvement in 10 in battery life?
Well, that's a good question, actually. Now that I'm thinking
mode.
Code shush.
I'm not running dark mode.
I know that would be a component.
I'm not running dark mode.
I will run it. You know that.
Yeah. I don't know. Nothing comes to mind as far as and this is the one thing that is going to improve your battery on your device. I just think they're always improving it.
Right.
They're always coming up with ways to wisely throttle down certain aspects of the phone when you're not using certain things. If it happens to be, the doze mode from a couple of years ago, which maybe it's not even called doze.
That's right.
I don't even know if it's still called doze, but that I think has improved over the last couple of years, so that when it's sitting on a table, it's just sipping on your battery.
So is your fear that now that the Pixel 4 is going to be always awake looking for your gestures and stuff,
that's
going to lead you back down?
You just keep using more juice now. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope, especially with the Soli sensor, I'm hoping that they've done enough with that to kind of dial in a very nice kind of low energy mode that to go along with that. But I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, it's a radar. I don't how battery thirsty is a radar. That's part of your phone. I have no idea, to be honest.
One thing I noticed just this morning with 10 is when I pull down my notification screen, it actually says 1 day, 3 hours on my battery.
Oh, wow.
When you pull down your notification, it says
when I pull down the notifications, it says at the top right hand, it says 1 day, 3 hours.
So it's actually
and this morning it said 1 day. When I woke up, it said 1 day, 6 hours, and that was. So that was 6 hours ago. So
okay,
I'm gaining time as we go.
Somehow.
Beautiful. Yeah, I wonder what's going on there. That's interesting. So we see the devices leaking entirely, and I imagine Google at some point here very soon has to announce their event, right? Like
it would help us out.
They did it would help us. All right, we want to know when to schedule it for sure. But it's interesting to me that a couple of months ago we started seeing some of these major leaks, and immediately Google comes out and says, "Yep, that's it."
Yep,
it's like they embraced the leak, and they were like, "Yes, let's not try and pretend like it didn't happen. Let's embrace it." And they were applauded for that. Like people were like, "Yeah, that's doing it right."
They were, but I'm the cynic. I still say that they're sending that.
You think that this is all intentional?
It's all intentional.
Oh, yeah.
That's the next level of marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the next level of marketing.
So you're saying that Google is sending out things to Rabbit TV in Thailand?
Yes.
Because that's the station that just
next
got it
year
today.
it'll be Peru.
You go
Rabbit
totally
Rabbit
obscure.
TV,
Rabbit TV,
YouTube,
50 subscribers, by
50
the way.
subscribers, and I think
kind of brilliant.
I think this is Thai.
Yeah, it looks
Totally obscure. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is stuff sneaking out of their new factory in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
yeah. Okay.
they're moving stuff out of China, and so now they've got whole new security issues to deal with, and so they got phones walking out of their factories.
I didn't think about Vietnam. Okay.
Do you think Google enjoys this sort of press?
Oh yeah, any press is good press, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh yeah, of course.
I'm always kind of
it.
curious. Like obviously people are talking about it and everything, but then again, like I'm not inside the company orchestrating this grand release schedule.
I mean,
at this point, you just kind of assume if you're in that position that something's going to leak or that this is going to happen.
I think they would enjoy this, especially when you have a huge competitor just up the road.
You know what? That's a really good point. When you talk about timing,
All right.
2 full Monty videos hitting YouTube literally a day after Apple's huge event.
Same time.
There's some interesting timing there. I hadn't even considered that.
And that's not the first time that's happened. They did that last year.
Totally.
See, I think
you might be right. Actually, there's some really kind of interesting
next level
timelines
marketing.
going on here. Yeah,
that's what they're teaching at Stanford.
That's yes. You could learn a thing or two from the Ukrainian leakers from last year. And then other things that we know now as far as what's going to be offered on these devices, there was news last week, I think it was, that Assistant would be able to step in for you when you're on a phone call and you need to put someone puts you on hold. So we'll be with you in 10 minutes or whatever. And they put you on hold. Instead of you sitting there with a phone, you can assign Assistant to sit in your place.
This is brilliant.
Do they have crappy music? Do they have crappy hold music?
I know.
Please. Let me
Welcome to
have crappy hold music.
2019. It's nice to have something futuristic finally,
Yeah.
Yes, I know. It's kind of like it's like beating them at their own game. It's like you put me on hold, I put you on hold.
Yes.
Then they come on, and then they get the automated response that says, "You're on hold. Please hold on. Jason will be with you shortly," or whatever.
You don't hold.
Yes, I don't hold for you. You hold for me. No one puts me in the corner.
Oh, man.
Also updates to night mode to include the ability to take shots of the nighttime sky.
That's
so
a
the starry
tough feat.
sky.
That's a tough feat. Computational photography. Google has done that like no one else. And night mode has been really, really good. And you're telling me there's going to be an improvement to something that's already really, really good?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, and of course, Apple, in their iPhone, they introduced yesterday their kind of night mode upgrade, and it looks really good. Looks like really good results. So I'll be, I can already see the shootouts, the shootout articles and videos that are, like comparing the two.
You have drop tests and you have shootouts.
Right. And I have much faith in Google's ability to impress with their night mode and just with the camera in general.
I think I said the last time I was on This Week in Tech, the fact that Google was getting this type of performance out of a camera that has one lens,
Oh yeah.
Now they're getting multiple lenses. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what the secret sauce is.
Yeah. So much of what they were doing, yes, the quality of the one lens that they were using, and the sensor in there, but B, so much of that is just the computational aspect. And so you add more lens combinations and more information and everything for Google to play with. That's going to be a big deal.
I can't wait.
So I'm looking forward to that. I think the improved night mode will be cool. I went on a hiking trip a couple of weeks ago, and while I was there in the mountains, had this beautiful night sky with stars and super clear and everything. And I was laying out on a rock, and I took my my Pixel 3 XL and put it in night mode and propped it up, on the rock, and had to like very carefully touch the shutter button. Although, because I didn't want it, I didn't want it to shake at all. I could use the hardware button, but then it would shake. So I had to like set it up just perfectly, and I ended up getting a pretty decent nighttime shot. I think it held the shutter open for like 10 seconds because it was trying to let in all that light. And you could actually see the stars. There was no smearing and everything, and it looked decent there. Let alone what an improvement might make, where maybe you could pull in, more details of like the Milky Way or whatever, those like subtle light shifts that you see up in the sky.
Less
I'm really
noise,
curious.
Lot less noise. And
Yep.
It's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Now, you do know that there's a countdown on your shutter, right?
Countdown on my shutter. What do you mean? Oh, so I could take it and like do like a timed,
just sit
timed
it down,
recording.
tap it, and that's
I
keeps
didn't
it
think
from
about that.
vibrating.
I didn't think about that. I
do that with my
You should
DSLR,
do
even
a
if it's on a
photo
tripod.
show for
Yeah, you
us,
should really share tips like this on some
Share
sort of a photo show. That would be a good
photo
idea.
tips, maybe.
Just saying.
Is Mr.
It's a good idea, Karsten.
Is Mr.
Yeah.
and Mr. Laporte listening? Photo show, maybe?
Do a photo show.
I think you have some information to share here. Also, a new motion mode for the camera for fast
Explain
moving.
that, would you?
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, as far as I can tell from the rumor, anyways, is that fast action motion stuff, like in this screenshot, someone playing a football player or whatever. That the camera could actually take that shot and capture it clearly, and B, being able to it makes comment of being able to blur the background, have a sharp foreground to get that like stretched across the field DSLR shot where everything
compression.
Yes. So I don't know how it's going to pull that off, because right now like
It's computational.
It's computational.
You know?
Right now we do that in a standard portrait mode, but that requires you to be pretty close to the lens in order to pull it off. So how do you do that when you're shooting a football player all the way over there on the field? I have no idea.
Yeah, I having that extra set of lenses is definitely going to help from a optic standpoint. But I'm still putting my chips on the computational side of processing it.
For sure.
Because it's a standard process a lot of photographers are doing every day, and Google can use their machine learning to figure all of that stuff out and say, hey, this is what most Sports Illustrated photographers are doing, so let's see if we can mimic that. No different from any other AI engine is going to try it.
Wouldn't it be cool if the phone in your pocket could equal the camera of a Sports Illustrated photographer?
Right.
That's probably where a lot of Google's conversations around this stuff start.
Yes. They say sports ball, they have that. Okay.
Right? Okay, we can do that. What can we do to make that happen? And the phone, similar to the iPhone that has the kind of square, the iPhone 11, the whole series has the square camera array on the back. Some of them have 2 cameras back there. Some of them have 3. The Google camera is square as well.
Yep.
I believe it's going to have 3 cameras, right? It's going to have the
that
main
shows 3 and then a flash.
3 and then a flash. So one of those is going to be some sort of a zoom, some sort of an optical telephoto. So that might come in handy for something like this, right? In order to get a little closer. Don't be shy. Get a little closer with the Google Pixel.
I will say I was never a fan of portrait mode on either of the platforms, whether it's iOS or Google. I was never really a fan because most people took the portrait mode too quickly, and they screwed with the details. It would blur out of an ear and stuff like that. And that's because everybody's just thinking, all right, let me get that selfie real quick, and they tap it, not necessarily considering you need to be still and let the AI think for a second. Okay, this is what needs to be
before you hit the shutter.
Right.
See, I've never even considered that.
I want to say at one point it would tell you, hey, hold still or tap here to focus. and then hit your shutter.
Because you're right, because the AI probably needs a little bit of time to be able to analyze the scene and know what it's about to do.
What's the subject here?
For portrait mode, it'll have you take the picture and then move your camera just a little bit up.
Yeah.
So that it can get that depth of field information. I don't think you're going to have to do that with two lenses.
Two lenses, no.
Because you'll have the one lens.
You have the additional hardware there.
You have the triangulation you need.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't feel like I ever have to move my phone, though, when I do portrait mode.
See, every time I've looked at it, because I try not to use it because I struggled with getting the perfect focus on whatever the subject is, and most of the time I just fix it in post myself. Yeah. But it tells you, hey, you need to hold still. All right, find your focal point. Okay, now shoot. And if you're off just by an nth, the processing gets messed up.
Yeah, every once I do know what you mean when like a portrait mode shot goes bad, goes awry. Everything
There's
looks
a lot
great.
Of those out
It's
there.
almost like if you like relax your eyes, you're like, oh, that does look like a DSLR. And then when you really look at those edges, you see that tiny little sliver of sharpness coming through, or it just looks like a bad Photoshop around the edge or something like that. So I know what you mean. I've just never noticed in the camera UI that it's ever told me to like shift the camera or
it typically says like focus here or something like that.
I remember way back when, a couple of years ago, there was a portrait mode that acted entirely off of the perspective.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Where it was like take it and then it actually guided you to like lift your phone, and then that was how it figured out what it needed to figure out. And thankfully it doesn't do that anymore.
Maybe that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much of that anymore.
Karsten's still using a
yeah. What are you using?
Steam-powered Trio.
It's got a
He's on a
crank
Nexus
on
6.
The Nexus 1A. Wait, that doesn't even exist. Or yes, right. So anywho, I don't know. I'm excited, and will continue to be excited because this is probably the next phone that I'm going to call my own.
Pricing. We're looking at another $1,000 phone, folks.
How could it not be in that high range of price?
But did Apple just play a little game by lowering their price a little bit?
They did
prices
lower
kept going up.
prices, right?
They're
Peacock.
either exactly the same or slightly lower.
Yeah,
People's
I don't
phone
think
is
that
like
they
700.
shifted too monumentally, but still, I mean, they have over $1,000 versions of the iPhone.
So we're at a point of no return when it comes to phone pricing.
Oh,
No, the
I don't
3A.
I don't know that we're at a point of no return, but we're not at a point of it stopping. The Note 10 is still like they have two versions of the Note 10 now, and the lower cost one is still 3 digits, and the higher cost one is 4 digits. So there's still like it's still that point, that price point that they want to get in on, and I kind of see Google shooting for that as well because they're going to have the Soli radar on board that they can say is so incredibly valuable, and the multiple cameras and the fact that it's our premium phone, and so I don't see why not. But I would love to see it a little bit less expensive, of course.
I'm so tired of $1,000 phones.
Yeah. And
But you know what? So how much did you spend for that laptop, or did somebody spend for you for that laptop?
And this laptop, I think this one was about $2,200, somewhere in that area.
Right. And you use the phone far more than you use a laptop.
But see, let me say this. I think I mentioned to you with the Note that it sort of validates its pricing because of all of the extra like AR stuff that they have built in, even though it failed for you. You know, but the whole
it didn't work very well for me. But anyway.
The three-dimensional rendering that it was trying to do, that's a lot of computational power needed in a phone. So that justifies the price, because you try to do 3D work on a laptop, you need to spend a couple $1,000s more than likely to get graphics processing and so forth.
Okay.
So yeah, that phone, I use it all the time, but it still doesn't justify $1,000 when all it's doing is pictures and a little bit of post-processing for me. I can't render video the way I would like to, or render graphics the way I would like to, but Samsung, give them credit. They're trying to, bring something to the table that says, all right, we got all this horsepower, let's use it.
Yeah, Samsung brings a lot to the table. Sometimes a little too much. It's kind of like, because I think that so many consumers would buy one of their phones, and yes, it offers all these things, including like what you're talking about, 3D modeling. But who's going to do that? The majority of Note users are never going to do that.
Right. Most people are not. But I know creators that would love to be able to have an object sitting right here on the table.
Be able to digitize it.
Yeah, digitize it and put it into their next project that they're working on for a client.
Yeah, for sure.
Just within minutes,
For sure.
That's big.
That would be nice. So, yes, I do think, though, that we're looking at around $1,000 for the top of the line.
Sadly.
That would be my guess here. And then right before the show, I read an article by Ryan Whitwam at Android Police, who wrote about how the Apple Watch Series 5 is just showing how much of an embarrassment Wear OS has become over the years. The Apple Watch continues to just dominate as far as wearables are concerned.
Wear OS still exists?
Yes, Wear OS still exists. In fact, at IFA, was it Fossil announced 5 different sub-brands, Michael Kors,
outstanding,
Armani, all of these updates of fashion watches, essentially. We were talking about this on All About Android last night, that Wear OS has really become the platform for fashion watches because that's all you really see happening in Wear OS anymore. Right. Samsung has moved to Tizen for their major watches. The other technology, manufacturers of phones, they all tried their thing with smartwatches. They might put out one smartwatch here and there, but they're not as focused on as they used to be. Right. And that might not be a bad thing because they were just creating phones on your wrist, and they weren't very good looking, which people require in a watch. So, okay, fine. So then it's fashion brands that have an OS platform to put, on their smartwatch lineup.
I need to look into that a little more because I like watches as jewelry. I actually have a watch, but I don't have it on today, but I normally wear a watch as jewelry. And I've always wanted something that looked good, but also had the simplicity of telling time and giving me a few notifications here and there. And the companies that were able to do that, they're no longer here because they didn't look good, but what was that?
Right.
What was that watch company? And I think they got bought out by Google, but from all of the functionality, it was there. Just simple notifications. But when you looked at the watch, it looked like the old school Casio.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And nobody wants to wear that as a piece of jewelry.
Are you thinking about Pebble?
Pebble. That's it.
Okay.
Pebble.
All right.
Pebble did a good job.
And so look at the Apple Watch. Do you like the square kind of aesthetic of the Apple Watch? I wouldn't necessarily say that I find the Apple Watch 100% like the perfect look of a smartwatch.
It's not perfect, but I think it's better than what we've seen in the past. I still like the square especially the larger face because it looks better on a wrist with larger hands.
Yeah.
What phone do you carry, Ant?
This is a Pixel 2, I think, or 3, one of them.
So you're an Android.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a Pixel something.
It's
Are you going to get the Pixel 4?
I will wait until the pricing goes down.
Yeah.
I don't want to do $1,000. I can't justify that.
Google, if history has taught us anything, Google definitely discounts the prices on their Pixel if you're willing to wait a couple of months.
Yeah, give it 4 months, something like that. It's what
or you could just sit under Leo's desk and hope he just drops it when he gets bored with it.
Well, yeah, that will happen.
It's rain pixels. Hallelujah. Yeah, you work at Twitter now. That very well could happen. That could actually happen. That is a scenario that has a not 0% chance.
I've seen it from afar.
Keep whining.
Yes.
Keep whining.
That's how it goes. And so you, Jeff, based on what you've heard as far as the Pixel, I may have asked this last time because I feel like the Pixel 4 comes up every time I'm on the show. My apologies if I talk about it too much, but what do you think?
Well, I'm going to talk about what I talk about too much, which is that for my limited budget, my blessed, and I love it, Pixelbook is going to go, and I fear soon. I need a new highest end Chromebook. So that's where my money's going to go. So I'm very happy with the 3A.
Yeah.
Very happy. 3XLA.
Yeah.
3A XL.
The Pixelbook.
Pixelbook has been serviceable for you, right?
Oh, superb.
Right.
Superb.
And so
I've been on.
Sorry.
I don't know when the first, not the original Google Pixel or Google Chromebook came out, but I've been on this probably for 4 years, 3-4 years now.
Right.
And this is the original one, the one that's like kind of has like a metal, like a dark gray metal casing, or is it the Pixelbook?
Well, it does, but it's like that. It's yours.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is a couple of years
I had
old.
the prior one. But this is 2 years old, I think, right?
Yeah. This one is 2 years old. Last year was the Slate. And then before that, did they skip a year? And then prior to that, they had the...
So I remember the Chromebook Pixel.
The Chromebook Pixel,
and then I think they went Pixelbook after that. I believe that's how it went.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the direction that it went. So, I mean, I'm on the Pixelbook obviously right now, and God, who was it that asked me here a couple of days ago? I think Anthony asked me, like, are you itching to upgrade? And I'm like, I don't feel like I need to. Like, this thing's still rocking 2 years later. Like, I can't tell you of a situation where I've opened it and been like, oh, this thing is so old. Like, it's fine.
Right.
It never reminds me. There's never a reminder that it's 2 years old. It's totally fine.
Unlike the Slate.
Well,
the Slate was your bane.
Slate
for a
had
little
its
while,
own
right?
issues. And I wouldn't necessarily say like it being outdated and slow was one of them. It was just from a usability standpoint, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be back on the Pixelbook, but I would imagine that they're going to have a Pixelbook update for you, Jeff. I think that's going to happen.
Knock wood for me. Reach behind you, knock some wood.
Done.
I feel good about it though. Wood has been knocked. All right, let's take a break. We'll thank the sponsor of this episode, and then we'll get into some of these this mishmash of news. Because there is some news in here. There just aren't a whole lot of like standout news pieces. So if anything jumps out at you, maybe take a look over the rundown and be like, oh, this is a story we got to talk about. And
I found a new Instagram account with a little tiny dog that carries big sticks. We could do that.
Yay! Oh, I think I saw that video, or I saw one of them where the dog was trying to get through the little passageway and kept trying.
There's a lot of those of dumb dogs. This one makes it through.
No, that's what I mean. And eventually, right? Like, keeps trying and then figures it out.
We can do that. We don't need news. We can do dogs with sticks.
If I knew that was an option, man, this rundown would look a lot different.
Dogs with sticks are always an option.
All right, good to know. I'll put that in my bank for next week, next time I'm on. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by Capterra. Capterra is the leading free online resource to help you find the best software solution for your business. If you're looking for software for your business, you might not know that you know that there's a lot of software out there, but you might not know that you have a tool to find the right software for your business. And a lot of times the software can be very specific to what your business is. That's the beauty of Capterra. It makes it easy to find it. Also, sun's out, you're in. Do not get stuck in the office trying to find that software, because that can be a real pain in the butt. With Capterra, you can read reviews, explore hundreds of categories of software, and find the right software for your business in minutes. And you can trade that office time for more beach time and find the right software fast at capterra.com/twig. And do it fast, because I think beach time is going away here rapidly. Capterra is the leading free online resource to help you find the best software solution for your business. With over 1 million reviews of products from real software users, you can discover everything you need to make an informed decision. Search more than 700 specific categories of software, everything from project management to email marketing, to everything in between, 3D CAD software, Android kiosk software, appointment scheduling software, arborist software. No matter what kind of software your business needs, Capterra makes it easy to discover the right solution fast. And you can join the millions of people who use Capterra each month to find the right tools for their business. And it's just fun to kind of go through there. Right now, we're looking at ServSuite compared to Tree Plotter. See, if you're not an arborist, you would never know that ServSuite and Tree Plotter are two apps that could help you run your arborist business. And for those who are, you'd be like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Now you can compare them side by side. You can see the features directly next to each other, see what platforms they're offered on, all of the features, reviews of different things, like how easy they are to use. Everything is in there. It just makes it really easy. Capterra believes that software makes the world a better place, because software can help every organization become a more efficient, effective version of itself. Visit capterra.com/twig. Do that free today, and you'll find the right tools to make an informed decision for your business. That's capterra.com/twig, and I'll spell that for you. CAPTERRA.com/twig. Capterra is software selection simplified, and we thank them for their support of this show.
Stuff.
All right, we got Bosco and his big stick.
Bosco
on the rundown.
Okay. Bosco
bottom of
and
the
his big
rundown,
stick.
bottom of other. The best video is there. Bosco, he has his own Instagram account.
All right.
Bosco loves big sticks.
I'm curious to know if this is the one that I saw on Twitter. I'm not really doing a whole lot of Instagram these days, but I saw this one and I stuck with it because it took about a minute for the dog to get through. Are you seeing it, Carson? Yeah, hold on. Oh, okay. Okay. He's logging in. He's liking it. He's subscribing. This is the one.
Bosco has an entire account.
I didn't realize that when I saw the tweet. I just thought it was a funny video. But no, you can follow this dog day and night. This is what happens when Apple has an announcement. This Week in Google turns into dog videos. But it really is great.
You can make it.
Bosco really wants to get through these pillars.
You gotta let people see how Bosco gets through.
Go, Bosco.
Do it. You got
Bosco.
it.
Yes. Now watch. He almost, look at this little guy. Look at him go.
He's just like, all right.
Screw that other dog.
And I'm out of here. It kind of reminds me of the Grinch, the dog in the Grinch with the horn.
Reindeer horn.
Yeah, the reindeer horn. Bosco's cool.
Now, while we're on this,
okay.
The other one to look up, Carson, is my Aussie gal, my_Aussie_
Yes, I love her.
gal. There's one of the dog doing Jenga. Have you seen this?
No, I've not seen this.
Yeah, the Jenga dog. Then we'll. Okay, just
let me see. Hold on.
So does someone work with their dog for like weeks and months on end to teach them how to do Jenga and then create a video?
These are really smart dogs. These Australian Shepherds are really smart. The one right there, right? Jenga, right there. So you can go to Jenga. Underneath. Boom.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Okay, now it's a dog. Sorry, audio listeners. There is a dog panting at a stacked Jenga tower, pulling a piece
Play it.
slowly. No, it is. That dog's just really good at playing the slow game.
It's just going really, really slow.
Because when you play Jenga, you don't just want to like tug a piece out.
Unbelievable.
How on earth? What?
I'm struggling just to stop Kylo from eating my socks, and this dog is playing Jenga.
Oh, that is amazing.
This was the famous dog that went up and down the hill in its own sled. But that's for winter.
Okay.
All right. So we made up for Apple time.
So apparently, I need to get on Instagram more often and subscribe to accounts like these.
You think this social media stuff is bad? See what you're missing, Jason.
I know. I feel it.
I've been enlightened.
Should I then point out that there was a nasty like Instagram thing that was going around that basically an easy hack using HTML and a browser?
Oh, that was the hack has always been a screen. You can do a screenshot.
That's what they said. That's what Facebook said.
Yeah.
They said, it's basically the same as like doing a screenshot. It's like, well, no, it's linking to the actual file that's hidden behind a private. I mean, it's a little weird.
They got 3 bylines on this. They're treating this like it's some big investigation that you share a photo with somebody, they could actually share it with somebody else. No. Boop.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. Like,
I don't follow it, but isn't it just someone taking a screenshot and resharing it?
No. So what it is using HTML, they're able to get a link. Like, okay, if I follow someone's private account, I can get their image. Using HTML, I can take the link to that image and share it with someone else who is not following that account, and they can link to it. So it's basically the same.
Or you could just take a screenshot.
Or you could just take a screenshot.
Everybody
it's basically the same.
The whole world around.
Right. But because it's linking to something that should be behind a wall that prevents people outside, that becomes the story.
I got
this took 3 bylines to do? Come on, BuzzFeed.
Okay. You said it well, Rever B. Mike. Techno panic.
Techno panic.
Yes.
Techno panic.
Yes. And Stacy's not here to yell at me for it.
What did you guys think about Facebook dating?
That would be no.
That would be no?
No.
I'm not using it. I can't use it.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay.
None of us is allowed to use it.
None of us is using Facebook dating. But for those who aren't aware, basically Facebook is rolling out the dating app in the U.S., of course, taking on the likes of like Tinder, Tumble, Tunder, Bimble, all of those. Matches will not include your Facebook friends. So that could have been awkward. They are not allowing that to happen. Also, there's an option to limit to only people where no friends are in common. So really, I think the big privacy kind of potential here is you're on Facebook dating. You don't want your friends or people who know people who know you to know that you are on there, or for there to be some awkward moment where suddenly you meet someone, then you realize, oh, wait a minute, you're so-and-so's brother or whatever. You know what I mean?
I can appreciate Facebook trying to cut the web a little bit so it's not as interconnected, but I got a hunch that's still going to come back and bite you in the butt, you know?
It'll probably bite somebody in the butt. I don't know how many butts it's going to bite.
There's so many people on Facebook, you know, and there's so many people that are connected that don't realize they're connected, because
that's true.
Mr. Jarvis has my contact information, and he has Miss Stacy's contact information, but Miss Stacy doesn't have mine. But now she could probably get my contact information because of Mr. Jarvis, and you know, why wouldn't this be any different with the Facebook dating thing? Because there's so many people out there, and it's so many ways to draw that connection.
The interconnectivity, the 6 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it. There's apparently a secret crush mode or feature. You have a limit of 9 crushes.
Right.
And that's the kind of feature where, like, I add you as a crush, you add me as a crush, we are both revealed to each other as being crushed, you know, having a crush on each other, and yay, we can fall in love and live happily ever after.
I don't know.
What's interesting is the business of this. Match.com stock went down. I think I saw 5% last week.
Oh, wow.
You know, with this coming out. It really was the only game out there. And you look at it's another thing that newspapers used to have.
Yeah.
Personals ads.
Personals,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember those days?
I remember those days.
Hey kids, in my day, you didn't swipe to find somebody. You turned the page.
You took out a classified ad.
Got an ad.
Classified ad for dating.
Unbelievable.
But it's true. It was a whole section that doesn't really exist anymore.
It was huge. It wasn't huge money. It wasn't like Jobs, but it was sizable money for publications, especially alternative.
Absolutely.
And that's all gone now. And so Facebook's going into basically a monopoly market with Match.com, and now we'll see what happens.
Yep. Well,
so I'm old enough to remember when online dating had cooties.
Explain.
You don't do it.
People, you didn't do it. No, you obviously found someone simply from your charm illuminating the streets as you walk down. And a woman I knew who lived in Japan, when she left, that was the case. When she came back, every one of her friends had found their mates with online dating. She kind of looked around and said, "Wow, what happened?" And the norm just changed like overnight.
Yeah, it really did.
And it makes perfect sense. You don't have enough people in your pool. You're busy working all day. You don't want to date there. And so to find new people, it made perfect sense. It's a way to use it, and it lost its cooties quick.
Yeah,
interesting.
No, I know exactly. I remember that. 96. I can't remember if I already told this story on this. I have this like weird deja vu that I already told it on This Week in Google. But in 96, I met my girlfriend in IRC, and she lived in Montreal. I lived in Idaho, in Boise, where I'm from.
Boy, were you both geographically undesirable?
Well, but she had dual citizenship, and so we got to know each other over the course of a couple of months online, and eventually kind of talking to each other and everything. And then she invited me out to Montreal.
Right.
And at no time had we ever exchanged photos of each other. We were just kind of trusting that we were telling the truth.
Right.
And this was 96. Wow. And so when I told my family that I was going to get on a plane and go to Montreal and meet this girl I'd never seen a picture of, that I met on the internet, which was very new to most people at that point.
Imagine the shock and horror.
Oh yeah, but friends and family were like, "You're going to get murdered."
Right.
It was like such a stretch for me to do that. But
the perfect Lifetime movie.
Right. I wouldn't have ended up in San Francisco. Yes. Of the times, I wouldn't have ended up in San Francisco had I not done that. So,
right.
Yeah, I spent most of 1996 on the phone with my wife. I was in a long distance relationship with my wife over the phone in 1996. So you were ahead of me, sir.
Wow.
Jason, was the end of the story that you married her, or
no? So okay, well, here we go. A little history of my dating.
That's how you ended up in San Francisco. So I missed a chapter.
Right. I kind of skipped to there. Basically, everything went well. She had dual citizenship. I ended up doing a 6-month work visa in Montreal. Montreal was amazing. But then once that was up, it was like, well, we got to live somewhere that we can both live if we want to continue dating.
Right.
She tried Boise, but coming from Montreal, Boise was not necessarily a step up.
You think?
But I give her props for trying. And then we chose San Francisco. We were like, San Francisco sounds awesome. We ended up San Francisco. We broke up probably a year later. She's still one of my best friends.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's how that all came around. But I would not be in San Francisco had I not met her in IRC chat.
Now I get it.
It's one of those what is it? The swinging doors or rotating doors? What is that? That Gwyneth Paltrow movie about, which is like
sliding doors.
Sliding doors. There we go. You either go this way or that way, and it changes your entire life. And that's what that IRC chat was. Anyways.
Wow, that was actually interesting. I had not heard that on this show.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Well, there you go. There's a little piece of my dating history for you. But I do remember how people were very worried for me. They really thought like I was going to go there and get murdered.
I can't blame them.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you just weren't doing that. And that I think was my point for even bringing it up. At that point, dating online was such a foreign concept that you just didn't do that. And I guarantee you classified ads dating was way more natural and normal.
Right, and you at least
that was considered
once somewhere.
Yeah. What's that, Jeff?
Classified ads dating had cooties.
Oh.
Too.
At that time as well. You did.
Yeah. But this is also a time of what was the name of the movie? Looking for Mr. Goodbar, the novel and movie, Diane Keaton.
Okay.
And so, yes, it was Diane Keaton plays a woman who ends up dating people in bars and I think gets murdered. Yes. These stories always end up with murder. It always
comes back around to murder. Dang it.
Show title.
Dang it.
It always comes back to murder.
Yeah, there's some SEO magic there.
Looking for Mr. Goodbar. She teaches deaf children during the day, but cruises single bars and discos at night. So
and then she gets murdered.
Yeah. Family fun for everyone.
Never.
Yeah.
Dang. 2 stars.
Pursues the likes of Tony Richard Gere, whose threatening knife and swagger excite her. This is the danger that lurks out there in bars where women go. That was the view back in the day.
Okay.
Now it's looking for Mr. Goodswipe, you know.
Yes. Mr. Goodswipe. That might be the title, actually.
Good one.
I like that one a little better. That was good. Let's see here. Some pieces and everything. Google Assistant apparently on some devices is going to enable a new feature, ambient mode. So if you have a smart screen or a smart home screen, like the Nest Hub Max that just released as one example, then you have a certain interface and it allows you to do lots of things like with your weather or notifications, reminders, music controls, all that kind of stuff, smart home controls. Well, now apparently to some devices for now, the Assistant is going to enable ambient mode, which will basically turn phones and tablets into that, which makes a lot of sense.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It gives you a simplified interface for when it's just sitting on the counter if it's connected to some of your other stuff. I dig that.
Or maybe you have like a dock that you put your phone in. And
as I know, I have a dock that I use at the desk here, and it would be nice to be able to just sit it there and as I'm listening to music and have my music controls a little bit bigger.
Than that tiny little touch point.
Standard ones, Yep. I dig that.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things. It's like, why didn't you do that sooner? That makes a whole lot of sense. Although I do remember years ago on Android when you docked, it used to have, what was the name? Was it Daydream mode? It was Daydream mode.
Yeah.
That was kind of like
this. Going back.
It is going back. But it was kind of like this when you had it plugged in, you had it on your phone charging dock or whatever. It would go into Daydream mode and it would turn into
almost like an ambient light going on,
a digital a picture frame or whatever. And
I remember that.
And you could have some controls around that. So this is kind of like that.
I think it was my Nexus 7.
It probably was. Yeah, it probably was about that time. Right now, it's launching on select Lenovo tablets and Nokia phones. I guess we'll see if it comes to other devices as well. But does any one of us have one of those smart screens? Like I have Google Homes, but I don't have any with a screen in my house.
I do.
I
hardly ever use it.
You never use it.
I have an Alexa little whatever dot
The show
screen. No, not the show.
Oh, okay.
The 5-inch, their little 5-inch screen.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That's the is that the Lenovo one?
Ooh,
Yeah, I wish I had the smaller Google one.
Yeah. Well, that was the first one, and still it was a great device.
And I'd rather have that
I
large
forgot how
one.
heavy it is.
Yeah. Thankfully, it just sits there.
I'd rather have that larger one. I remember looking at the Google one and thinking it's no bigger than my tablet. It's just I could do the same thing, just
Right.
mount the tablet somewhere.
Right. But you wouldn't get the interface. Now you will.
Now I will. Potentially.
Maybe, potentially. It's possible. We'll see. What else is in here?
So there's stuff in here.
Okay, go for
stuff
it.
in
What's
here.
something
We'll find it.
that grabs you right now, Jeff? Is there something?
Oh no, I should have said that.
I will deflect to you.
Google. Well, no, it's change log. Never mind. We can't do that. Well, you could. I'll tell you what. Why don't you play the trumpets? Then I'll find something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, why don't we do that? Let's play
We
some
don't have
trumpets.
to do that at the end of the show. We can do that whenever we want, right?
We can do that. It's time for the
Right, Karsten?
change log.
The Google change log.
Google is changing the no-follow link attribute. That's right. We're digging deep this time around. Used to be a flag to tell its search ranking to ignore those links. Now it's simply going to be treated as a hint about which links to exclude. So you could flag a link as a sponsored, REL equals sponsored. That would ID it as part of an ad or a sponsorship and tell the search engine, give it a hint as far as what it is, whether it wants to include it in its results or not. UGC would identify links for user-generated content, things like comments, forum posts, that sort of stuff. Google did say that it's going to continue to honor no-follow attributes currently in place, so no need to change your existing ones quite yet. On March 2020, all no-follow links will be treated as hints and not specific actions to ignore these links. So I don't know, that kind of seems like a big change, right? Before people had control over what the search engine sees, and now not so much.
A big change to who?
Yeah, that's true.
To who?
That's true.
No, I get it. It again, you start thinking about marketing standpoint. It makes sense. It does.
Yeah. Google Chrome 77 is rolling out and offers a new feature for sharing pages between devices. So basically, if you're on one device and you want to share a web page to your phone, like you're leaving the house, this whole thing, I feel like we've had this solution before, but maybe it was in the way of an app or whatever. Well, now it's going to be built into Chrome. You could right-click on a tab, choose the device to share to, and then that device will appear on that device. The tab will appear. You have to tap to receive it.
I like that.
So it's like you have to accept that link before it'll just appear there. But once you do that, there it is, hanging out for you.
I like that. I've been working on a project or what have you, and wanted to take a break, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, all right, I'm going to go downstairs or something like that, but I'm just going to take this with me while I go downstairs. And it's so much, that would be a nice, easy feature just to write.
Can't you go to the history on either device and see the other device?
That's typically what I have done is I go into that tab and pull it up that way. But this was, I like the idea of this as just a click or two,
Yeah, and I think that's the thought is, yes, you could go into history, but that requires you to kind of go into the menu, dive into there, search through a list. This is like a very specific, share this over there. It's probably using the same exact syncing functionality. It's just making it appear more intentionally.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Not bad. Also, in mobile search, a query of something like good shows to watch or what to watch will now fire off. I couldn't get it to work for myself, but supposedly it'll fire off a carousel for you to rate TV and movie shows. TV shows and movies. Sorry.
We called them moving pictures back in my day.
Movie shows and stories. You could swipe left and right, thumbs up, thumbs down, skip, all in an effort to better identify through the search engine what you like.
You're supposed to get it
for recommendations. Supposedly, you do a mobile search on your mobile device as something like good shows to watch or what to watch. Those were the two examples that Google put in their blog post, but when I did it, I didn't get the little carousel. You could also search for genres, so like horror movies from the 1980s or adventure documentaries about climbing, and it would know how to handle that, as well as surfacing where those movie shows are available.
That was my next question. Is you're giving me all these recommendations, where will I be able to find them?
So it'll give you those results, and then it'll also tie into, I think, your apps installed on your phone. So if you tap Netflix,
oh nice,
I think it would take you through there.
It's pretty slick.
So
it's interesting. I didn't get that, but as I just looked at what I got, I got a bunch of movies with data on theaters, and then I got a Google thing that appeared. People also search for it. It has a Netflix movies list, which does not appear that Netflix paid for.
A Netflix movies list. So it's like all the movies on Netflix.
All right, but Netflix didn't bid to have that out there.
No,
cool.
No, they just know people were searching for it. That's smart.
Huh? Interesting.
Well, there was scraping.
Yeah,
Speaking
right.
of, sorry, I'll come back to it. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
You're in the change log.
No, it's all good. We're almost there. There's really only one other thing.
Because it's really so short.
Yeah, Google Express is about to be added to the Google graveyard. Apparently, it closes in a few weeks.
We hardly knew ye.
We never used ye. I never really used Google Express. I think I used it once. Google's redesigning its online shopping experience. As such, Google is calling it an integration. But let's face it, Express is just dead.
Sunsetting.
It's just dying. It's going to be added to that graveyard, that never-ending page that highlights all of the things Google has killed.
But at least this isn't something that was big the way those other things were. Like
Man,
Google Reader.
They wanted it. They wanted it to be big.
This was, Nice try, Google.
Google Express had some deals. I remember I even saw some pretty decent deals on that because they were really trying to pull people in. It was but never good enough to make me pull the trigger, I guess. So
didn't they have a deal with Costco?
I don't know about Costco. I know they did with Walmart and Best Buy. I don't know. Maybe with Costco as well. Who the heck knows?
I try to do this locally, or I talk to eBay, and when they still owned PayPal many years ago, when I was working with a newspaper company, trying to figure out how to do this, because we figured that you had delivery coming with Uber and stuff, and could local advertisers compete with Amazon by saying, we got it, it's a mile away, we'll get it to you. The problem that PayPal said and eBay said was merchants just don't have their inventory digitized. And it's not there. And I wrote a business plan to do that, but there's just the structure is not there. And people are so accustomed to using Amazon.
Yep.
I have a group of people we bring in on commerce in media at the Newmark School. And one thing they've said when things like Wirecutter and places like that, when they put up commerce links on their sites, the thing that drives conversion more than anything else is available for Prime.
Right.
So people are just accustomed to Amazon.
Yep.
And happy with it.
Absolutely.
Until the government protects them from it.
Yes. Until whatever's happening with the probe is over. Until Amazon has been probed.
Sounds.
I think that's it for the change log.
Not going there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go there, but then I did. Okay, what were you going to say, Jeff? While we're in the change log,
I got a few stories here that are interesting. Okay. I got a few interesting.
Cool.
One is this is a follow up to a story we talked about on the show. You guys weren't there a week or two ago. Is the MIT Media Lab. Joey Ito, the director, resigned this week after blockbuster reporting from Ronan Farrow. Ronan Farrow is calling. The answer is, okay, I quit. Whatever it is, I quit now.
Yeah, it's not good when Ronan Farrow is on.
Not at all. And it's unclear how high up in MIT this reaches, but Jeffrey Epstein's money was taken and then hidden in the Media Lab. And, there are those out there who are now screaming, kill the whole Media Lab. Well, there's some good work going on. Good people are there. They've announced a new governance structure. Patty Mays, who's a wonderful researcher, professor there for many, many, many years, is going to head a committee of 5, 3 women, 2 men, who will govern the Media Lab and look for a director who bloody well better be a woman. So that's just kind of a follow up on that story where we were. But I was glued to Twitter all weekend last weekend as this story was rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. And there are people like Jenny Jardin of Boing Boing has really been hard on the case here and bravely, and she's taken a lot of crap for it. But the whole Epstein story, including MIT, and where Epstein's influence and connections and God knows what else, and money and God knows what else reached. So she's been great on the story. So I just wanted to mention that as a follow-up. I thought that was interesting.
Do you think Media Labs still has a chance, or is it just going to fold?
I think it still has a chance. There's a guy named Deb Roy runs a lab about civic conversations in a company called Cortico out of there. Deb is ex-Twitter. We've people I work with are working with him, so I know how smart he is. Kate Darling does a lot of great stuff up there with machines and new looks of machines. But they also are in trouble for other things. They had a supposed plant-growing computer, and the Chronicle of Higher Education, I think it was, had a big story today just saying that it was all hype, that they were buying plants outside, putting it in the device, and it wasn't really working, so there was fraud there. That kind of stuff, I think, can almost do more damage in a way.
Right.
You have companies paying a lot to be near this technology. Now, in truth, so my old employer used to pay them every year, and I got up, I went up there a few times when we were supposed to be able to look at all this wonderful new technology. And there were a few things. There was electronic ink came out of Media Lab. That was worthwhile. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it was a fair big dose of BS.
Google Glass.
Out of Media Lab?
Yeah. Thad Starner.
Well, as I said, a fair amount of BS.
Yeah. Well, okay. No, Thad Starner almost got a PhD for his wearable. They were debating whether they should give his wearable computer that he had gone through the Media Lab with a PhD, because he had to wear it for his final oral presentation, and they were going back and forth over should he be allowed to use it, should he not be allowed to use it, should it itself be given a PhD. So
what happened?
I'm putting a link in the chat for you.
It didn't get the PhD. He did, but it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, but I think really they need a major house cleaning there. They need a major regrouping on what value the lab does have. They need to do a lot of apologizing, but that doesn't mean that you get there. There are people there. There's up to 1,000 people. Ethan Zuckerman said who are involved with the lab as students, or professors, or projects, and to just overnight say, it's dirty. That's kind of the moral panic of saying technology bad. See, I told you. And people are grabbing onto anything like this. This had very little to do with technology. It had to do with financial corruption, really. So anyway, that's a follow-up that I think was worth mentioning.
Now, okay, so then I will tack on to that and say this news about Bill Gates, right? He has a new 3-part documentary that's about to hit on Netflix.
This is a really flimsy story.
Yeah, like I'm curious about this one. Obviously there are a lot of people who are.
I interrupted.
No. I was just going to say there are a lot of people that are atoning to their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein in a number of different ways, and now it's come out that Gates, he was on flight logs. He also met with Epstein in 2013. Has other ties. Like, do you think that any of that ire is going to strike Bill Gates as well?
Of course,
we don't know enough yet. In the Ronan Farrow story, Epstein was taking credit for directing Bill Gates to give money to the Media Lab. Right. As a lot of people pointed out, it's real hard to envision anybody directing Bill Gates to do anything.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
So we haven't really heard enough yet. We need to hear more from Gates in his own interest. But I have my doubts that Epstein had any puppet strings over Bill Gates.
Wasn't there some type of proxy always in place regarding any type of transactions or discussions between Epstein and Gates?
By proxy, you mean
a middleman, a middle person that they wouldn't.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Seems like I read something along those lines of they knew each other, knew of each other, or what have you, but any communication or transactions usually has some type of middleman if you will.
Yeah, and
So it
I think
wasn't
it's
Bill
Epstein
Gates
trying to take credit for this.
conversing directly with him.
Right.
Yeah.
So there could be something there, but it's far too soon to condemn Bill Gates and anything that he's involved in. As a result, investigation will show if Ronan Farrow starts calling him, I'd run for the hills. But so far we don't have that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So that's an interesting story. Another interesting story that I just added that I forgot about is there was a big court decision this week on scraping.
Oh, okay. Yes. You mentioned scraping.
HiQ had gone after LinkedIn. HiQ was building a business upon scraping data out of LinkedIn, and LinkedIn at some point gave a cease and desist. And under the Computer Fraud Act, LinkedIn thought that was enough to make them stop, but they went ahead and took them to court, and HiQ won. And what the court said, and I haven't read the whole decision, but what I read a lot of smart people about it, and among the things that the court said was that LinkedIn's data is presented publicly.
Public knowledge.
Right.
And for LinkedIn to then say, no, you can't see that, is inconsistent and wrong and is going to be harmful to knowledge. And that notion alone, I celebrate. And I think this notion of being in public and other people to being able to build on the knowledge they get from that is what's going to build our future world. So it was a fascinating discussion. EFF is celebrating. A lot of people I know aren't quite sure what to think, but and haven't really figured it all out yet. And as Kate Klonick, who's a brilliant, or maybe Daphne Keller, who's a brilliant Stanford law professor, said that now these what used to be separate domains of law that you were specialists in now are all mushing together in one decision, and it's really hard to figure out. But this is going to turn out to be an important decision, because what it means is that trying to restrict information won't work. And that's the essence of fights about copyright and stuff. Copyright only protects the treatment of the information, not the underlying information itself. And if this information is made public, then you can go in and you can get it and you can draw on it and you can do things with it. And that's going to lead to growth, and that's going to lead to good things, I think. So this is a big one.
I don't understand how the LinkedIn council would say potential fraud abuse. See, it's public information. What were their grounds?
Well, they're saying that you, I haven't read the decision yet, so I'll get this messed up. But I think it was almost like a terms of service, that you came in as a user, to find a job, but instead you made a company. And under CFFA, under the Computer Fraud Act, if you gave someone a cease and desist, that was sufficient notice to make them stop doing something. And you had the right to do that. And now the court's saying, no, that doesn't hold.
Because it's public data.
Yeah. And a lot of people mention this in light of senior moment, Jonathan Schwartz, right? The young, brilliant man who killed himself.
Yes, Jonathan.
In the JSTOR account. Yep. Jonathan, thank you. And that they wonder whether this would have had an impact on that, because what he did was use MIT computers to scrape every article off of JSTOR, the academic repository of papers, and that scraping then would have been okay. Now, JSTOR is behind a paywall, and I suspect it wouldn't have worked because that was a contractual obligation. I don't want to get too legal because I'm not qualified to do so. But this got a lot. This decision got a lot of buzz in geek legal circles.
Interesting stuff. Let's see here. I'm realizing we need to take a break. We might have a few more things to talk about after the break, and then we get to our tips, tricks, numbers, things, whatever we happen to bring to the table. First, let's take a break and thank the sponsor. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by ExpressVPN. If you think that your data is not valuable enough to be snooped on, you are wrong. Maybe you think nobody cares about your online data. You are wrong. Nobody. nobody has data that isn't valuable to somebody. Let's just say that. Because you listen to this show, you understand that your privacy is under attack in a number of different ways. Hackers, governments, ISPs, they're all gobbling up your data. That's why we recommend getting the software that we trust to protect our online identity. I know I do. It's ExpressVPN. Their apps use powerful encryption to secure your data. ExpressVPN runs in the background of your computer, your phone, and you use the internet just as you normally do. All you have to really do is just download the app, click to connect, and you're protected. And if you're going to public Wi-Fi or wherever you happen to be, really at any time, use ExpressVPN. It's going to protect you no matter where you are. Even if you're at home, you don't trust your ISP. Cool, you could set it up so that it's just running all the time, and then you don't have to worry about it. ExpressVPN is the fastest VPN that I've tried. It costs less than $7 per month. Comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. ExpressVPN uses new cutting-edge server technology called Trusted Server, and that actually prevents the operating system and apps from ever writing to the hard drive. As you can see, this is a whole new standard of privacy and security, a whole other level of it. It's time to stop hackers, Big Brother, and internet companies from grabbing all your data. Take back your online privacy, like I did with ExpressVPN. I do love ExpressVPN. I've used a number of VPN services over the years. ExpressVPN is probably the easiest VPN that I've seen, because you just press that button and boom, you're on, and things don't slow down. And that's another big issue that I've run into with VPN. Things just seem like they're creeping along. I don't feel that with ExpressVPN. It's the same experience, just protected. And that's what it's all about. Protect your online activity today and find out how you can get 3 extra months free with a 1-year package at expressvpn.com/twig. That's expressvpn.com/twig for 3 extra months free with a 1-year package. One more time, expressvpn.com/twig to learn more. And before we jump back in, I also realized that we do this now. A little bit of information on triangulation. If you missed triangulation recently, you definitely want to check it out. Micah Sargent just last Friday interviewed David Weinberger, author of Everyday Chaos, Technology, Complexity, and How We're Thriving in a New World of Possibility. They actually talked about artificial intelligence, big data, modern science, how they're all revealing one fundamental truth, and that's that the world is way more complex and unpredictable than we've allowed ourselves to see. All that, and even the magic of chicken sexing. Yes.
Chicken sexing is indeed in there.
Yes.
So I interviewed, so I read the book. It's a wonderful book. David's a dear friend. He's brilliant. The book is great. And I've talked about it on the show before. And I also interviewed David at a bookstore in New York where he did, in fact, talk about chicken sexing. I'll let that mystery stay so you can watch the show. But David talks about how machine learning, artificial intelligence, but even just A/B testing takes away our sense of control and predictability. That is to say, we think we know how people are going to operate, but the data says something else. The data doesn't come with an explanation. There is no explanation. That's just what happens. And the data reliably predict that. Well, sorry, I can't explain this behavior to you, but we are addicted to the notion that we can explain. Right. We can tell a story that's going to explain all this. And that takes the rug off from underneath us. And it's very unsettling. So David's a very calming influence as a philosopher, wonderfully sweet, nice guy, brilliant, but also gives you kind of, on the one hand, frightening things, but on the other hand, says, relax about this. This is the reality of where we're going, and it's probably okay. So I would recommend, even though I haven't seen it yet, I look forward to watching.
Yes.
But David is somebody I recommend highly.
Yeah.
To pay attention to.
And chicken sexing. That's all we got to say.
One more, and right there in the headquarters of chicken sexing.
Yeah.
Petaluma, California.
That's right. See, it's totally on brand. That was last Friday's episode. You can find it at twit.tv/TRI or Triangulation is found. This Friday, Leo's actually going to talk with Joan O'Bacon about his new book, People Powered: How Communities Can Supercharge Your Business, Brand, and Teams. And you can check that out this Friday. That'll hit the feeds. twit.tv/TRI for Triangulation. Awesome show. I love when I get the opportunity to do Triangulation. I'm sure at some point, Ant, you'll do an episode of Triangulation. It's just a cool opportunity to sit down with really smart people and talk about the thing that they are just dialed into.
It's been great watching those conversations, and I watched that episode last week. It was really, really good, Micah.
Right on. Any last bits and pieces before we get into the numbers and stuff? Like Samsung's Galaxy Fold is now apparently available in South Korea. It's going to come to the U.S. probably by the end of the month.
Forget about buying that Pixel 4. I know you're going to buy the Fold for what, $2,000?
You're all about the Fold, right?
No.
Come on, someone here has to be all about the Fold.
No, I don't get it. I guess I'm not productive enough to think that multiple screens on a mobile device like that is useful.
Necessary.
I mean, yes, when I'm at the workstation, I have either a really large screen or multiple monitors, but something about it on the mobile device just doesn't scream productivity to me.
I understand. I'm interested in it from a curiosity standpoint. I'm not interested in it from I've got to have that because if I do, it's going to open up all these worlds that I never knew before.
So you're interested just enough to go see it in the store.
Yeah, or get a review unit and then hand it back. I'm interested enough to live with it for a couple of weeks and then be like, but this is what I really want.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe I would get it and I'd be like, this is awesome. Yeah.
Isn't it?
It looks like it probably is.
Some people talk about
it in person.
They talk about it being a tablet that's in your pocket, and I guess that's great and innovative. But again, I just don't see the extra use for it, and I'm sure it's not going to have the horsepower to be productive.
Yeah, I mean it's running a pretty top of the line. 855.
It's got 855.
12 gigs of RAM, I believe. Like they've put some nice power into it.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected.
And it's almost $2,000.
Nope.
So that might be the deciding factor.
$2,000 this right here, MSI workstation with a Quadro RTX GPU from NVIDIA. That's
all right. Same. Yes. Fold or this. Take your pick. And any others?
One last thing for me.
Yeah, go for it.
I mentioned before we came on the air, I'm fascinated by this. So the protesters in Hong Kong, who are really, truly a movement, Zainab Tufekci pointed out that they have a new national anthem for Hong Kong. Screw you, China. That's what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And it was written by one person, but then he put the music up, put the first verse of lyrics up. Online, then they collaboratively did the next verses, and then are now they're singing it. Thousands of people in malls on multiple levels are singing this. Wow. There's now an orchestral version, which is on the rundown, which is really good. It's just fascinating to see. Now, God help us, we could find ourselves in another Arab Spring where oppression comes afterwards. But this is pretty amazing. A lot of people have said to me over the years, the Chinese people don't want this kind of freedom. They're having a great time now. No. I said, how can you possibly say that? You can't listen to them. You don't know. You can't hear. But Hong Kong, they can speak. And this is how they're speaking and how they're singing.
Wow, like a crowdsourced national anthem.
Yes.
With a cause, you know what I mean? Like that's unbelievable. The numbers you're talking about here, that's unbelievable. And then, we were talking about this a little bit prior to the show. I was telling you guys, we have an interview tomorrow on Tech News Weekly with a gentleman. I'm pulling up the doc so I can get his name. John Coitzier, who wrote an article for Forbes about how protesters in Hong Kong, they're being cut off from the internet. So communication between them was next to impossible, but now they're using an app that allows for communication over Bluetooth, so that they basically bypass the internet entirely, and it's like basically like this big distributed messaging mesh network. It's just like the lengths that they're going to get their message and be able to communicate, have a voice. It's really crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty inspiring, but. Anyways, that's really neat, Jeff. I had not heard that. Nice song too. Sounded nice.
Yeah, it actually
the orchestral version
good.
sounded really good. Yeah, absolutely. Stirring's the right word for it. Cool. All right. Well, I think we've touched on most of the things. Why don't we get into the numbers and stuff? We'll start with you, Jeff. What's your number of the week?
Let's see here. I think I'll go with the use by seniors of Facebook has doubled since 2012.
Oh.
Now we could pitch that story two ways. One is don't worry about Facebook. The kids are okay. It's going to the grandpas. The other one you could argue is grandpa's going crazy, and part of the reason is Facebook.
Right.
Because fake news is being spread by old people who look like me, not young people. That is to say, old white men. For those of you on audio, as if you didn't know. Yeah, Facebook is becoming more and more the place of old folks, and that's probably more worrisome for the future of Facebook than anything, which I found interesting.
That's fascinating. Kind of not surprising either.
The other thing I had to put in there is kind of a changelog thing, but it was even too small for a boring changelog. But I'll mention it really quickly. Is that Google has a new feature that lets you display your word count as you go.
Oh, in Docs or in Drive?
Yeah, which I kind of hate. I can imagine students saying they said 2,000 words. Okay, 19,000.
Right.
No, 1,900, 1,910. No, I got to put in some more words.
Does it do character counts?
I
would love that.
I'll bet it does.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool tool. I could see, though, getting too obsessive about it. Like, there's something about writing something and then having to go up to analyze what you just wrote instead of, like, real-time readout of, like, I just need 3 more words. Done.
We were talking on the show. Don't worry, I won't do this again, those of you who are listening, but I did a whole long grandpa thing about word processing in the early days. Back in the day when I had disk drives 5 inches big.
Yes.
But one of the things you had to do is when you wanted to spell check, it was a batch thing.
Right.
You had to write, and then you hit a button to spell check, and it would go through and mark all the words, and you'd go through a list separately, and you'd have to change the words on the list to change it in the text.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
Yes.
So people were complaining about having to go in and kind of batch word count, in essence, by going up to a specific feature to kind of run it in the old jargon, and now they've taken that away. It's just there.
Yeah. So 10 years from now, this will just be, we'll be so used to seeing our always on word count that thinking about having to batch word count is going to seem so quaint.
Man,
So antiquated.
So antiquated.
The writer
Actually, you won't
would
have-
love it.
Yeah.
The writer.
You won't have words anymore. You'll just have a meme count. We're gonna write an emoji and memes.
That's right. Language is shifting. And what you got?
I didn't have anything initially, but
You were, after all, asked to do this show right before you went into Windows
right before
Weekly.
we went on air. It's okay. It's all good though. But I wanted to bring up a project that I did a month or so ago in recognition for yesterday. I know today is September 11th, but yesterday, September 10th, is Worldwide Suicide Awareness Day. And I think we need to continue to have conversations about mental health and the effects of it. And that project that I worked on is with a friend of mine that wanted to help get the message out about mental health awareness. And he allowed me to just sit down with him and we just talked. He suffers from PTSD. He is a U.S. Army vet, served 6 years, had some great stories, and he just tells it like it is as far as dealing with mental health issues and the fact that no one is really talking about it, especially in the Black community, and how it's been sort of blackballed. And did it in 3-part videos, and
I'm so grateful that you do this, Ant.
Yeah,
I think it's so important. And that your openness and bringing in other people into it, it's so important, and I'm so glad you do it, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning
I will
that.
watch this with great interest.
Absolutely. Yeah, that hits home for me. My dad is a Vietnam veteran and has suffered all his life with PTSD. So
It's not something to just
I didn't know that,
the
Jason.
rug.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
This is so
I will watch
important
this.
because this kind of this is what I mean when sharing is generosity, right? So Ann has talked on the show before about his family, and you just mentioned this, Jason. And I've got people in my family as well, and that's what makes it okay for other people to stand up and say, "Me too,"
Absolutely.
or to say, "Somebody I know has this. I have somebody to talk to." It's so critically, so important and so generous to do. So I'm grateful.
Yeah. Vulnerability begets vulnerability, right?
Yep.
Opening the doors for vulnerability, and I feel like honestly, this is a lesson that I've only learned in the past year to great length and work that I've done in my own personal life. But vulnerability, when you open yourself up to that, man, it's like the world opens up because suddenly you give everybody else the permission to explore it with you.
There's some freedom with it.
Getting chills right now. Thank you so much for mentioning that.
Sure.
It's super important stuff, and I definitely will watch that. I'm very interested. Mine pales in comparison. To be honest, coming into this episode, I really had no tip or trick or anything, and then finally it hit me like it doesn't have to be anything groundbreaking. Gmail has dark mode. There you go.
No!
For the win.
New update coming to Gmail. Dark mode is finally rolling out.
Yes, give me dark mode.
Yay, dark mode. Look, there are people that love dark mode. Okay, Jeff, you are not a fan?
I hate it. It really it creeps me. I know it's irrational, but it creeps me out.
Really? Oh man,
Yeah,
I just find
really
it's
dislike
like
I love it so
quieting for me. Like,
You would, Karsten. You would.
Oh, I just bask in the
love it.
darkness.
Karsten, it matches your dark soul.
Absolutely.
Oh boy. So yes, update to the new Gmail for Android, and you'll probably see a little mode in there that you can switch to turn everything dark.
That is a win,
There
sir.
you go. That's as much of a tip as it needs to be. That is it. We've reached the end of this episode of This Week in Google, and great having you on set. Thank you so much for plopping down, especially on such late notice.
Thank you for having me on and tolerating me.
It's not tolerance at all, dude.
Isha.
You're welcome on.
Quite the contrary. I'm so happy you're there and can be grabbed onto Twig anytime.
Yes. Completely
Thank you,
agree.
Mr. Jarvis.
When you least expect it.
Yeah, definitely least expected.
Yes. Well, you did awesome and really appreciate it. And I'm super psyched to be working with you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy that you're here. at Twig.
Likewise, glad to be
It's
here.
a lot of fun to work with you and to share an office with you.
Yes.
Can't wait to see what else you're working on as well. And I'm sure people will hear more as the weeks progress. Jeff, buzzmachine.com, anything you want to keep people aware
that's
of?
fine. That's fine.
That's about it. Always great getting to do a show with you as well.
Always
sir.
great to see you.
It's always fun. Appreciate it. Let's see here. We do this show each and every week. It's released on Wednesdays at twit.tv/TWIG. Twit.tv/twig is where you can go to find all the subscription links for podcasts. You know, if you need audio, you need video, you want to jump to the YouTube videos, you use Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use, all those links are there. Twit.tv/TWIG. That's the most important thing to know. Go there, subscribe. That way you don't have to think about finding the episodes. They're delivered to you. Funny, that's how podcasts work. Isn't that amazing?
Exactly how they work.
And if you want to watch live, you can. Twit.tv/live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 2000 UTC. Thanks to Carson, of course, as well, for helping out with the show, pushing the buttons on the ones and twos, and everyone watching. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on This Week in Google. Bye, everybody.